So welcome to this portion of the Reach 2020 conference where we have an opportunity to hear from 4 members of our Presidential Selection Committee. I'm pleased to introduce to you Jim Green, who is our chair of our Presidential Selection Committee for President-elect Ross Allen, Julie White, who is our Bethel University chair of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Ruben Rivera, who is our Chief Diversity Officer at Bethel University, and Dr. Jessica Daniels, who is our Associate Professor and Program Director of the Doctor of Education in Leadership in Higher Education. So welcome to you all, and thank you for spending this time with us through this REACH conference to talk a bit about the selection process for Ross Allen. Most of us now have had the opportunity to meet President-elect Allen, but before any of us had the chance to meet him, you all had an opportunity to get to know him a bit on paper and in some other ways that we're curious about. So as we begin, Jim, I'd like to start with you as the chair of the committee. As a committee, you work diligently to cultivate an excellent candidate pool from which to select our 6th president. What stood out to you particularly about President-elect Allen, Jim?
Well, thank you, Laurel. And first and foremost, what stood out for the committee in terms of Ross Allen was his Christ-centeredness. You don't have to be around Ross Allen for very long until you know that Jesus Christ is the very center of his life.
Outstanding. Julie White, what would you say? What were some of the things that stood out to you about President-elect Allen initially?
Thanks, Laurel. Well, I would echo Jim's comments about starting with Christ-centeredness, and then just to combine with that, just a very wonderful approach to how he knits together teams and ideas and people so that collaboration and innovation becomes part of the fabric of the university, and his commitment to doing that in a very inclusive and creative way.
Outstanding. Jessica, Ruben, what would you add? What were things that you saw?
Similar to Jim and Julie, President-elect Allen is so humble and so relational. His optimism is contagious, but it's not naivety, it's informed optimism, and his consistent pursuit of excellence on paper, as you mentioned, but also in the interviews and our time with him. Again and again, it was evidenced his absolute pursuit of excellence.
Ruben, what about you? What would you say?
Thank you. It's really great to be here. I want to add a little bit to what everyone has said. Ross left a very lucrative and highly successful position in Medtronic because, as he put it, he wanted to move beyond success to significance. Ross also, his approach to the tremendous challenges and opportunities that are facing faith-based higher education. And while he's been called a turnaround guru, he actually doesn't like this term. This is another thing I liked about him, is a turnaround suggests going back to some perceived better place in the past. And instead, Ross prefers the term transformation, which indicates innovation, perhaps changing or even eliminating things we used to do in the past, and to reimagine and implement new and better ways to deliver a Christ-centered liberal arts education.
Outstanding. Now, one of the things that we all realize is that from the very beginning of this selection process, it was a very tight process, and you all spent a lot of time together. Were there particular things that you learned about Bethel and about yourselves in this process?
We were blessed. We were blessed by just a group of wonderful men and women who were so committed, so diligent. They would come into our meetings with very strong opinions, with very strong viewpoints. They would debate with one another. They would challenge one another, but always we would come out in unity. And you don't see that in a lot of teams, particularly newly formed teams. So we were blessed by a great group of men and women to form this committee.
Outstanding. Jessica, what would you say? What were some of the things you learned about yourself or about Bethel in this process?
I learned so much from the other committee members. It was a diverse group with diverse backgrounds and strengths, and there was such a synergy together. I think I was just re-inspired and reminded what an incredible community Bethel is. So diverse and multifaceted and so many different people care so deeply about Bethel and are so committed to Bethel's mission. And honestly, that was inspiring and reinvigorating. And it provided even more enthusiasm for the work that needed to be done.
Outstanding. Julie, what about you? You are leading our board of trustees. There's a great deal that you know about Bethel already. Were there any new insights or things that you learned about Bethel or about yourself while working with this team so intimately for a year?
In each conversation, it was reaffirmed time and time again the deep, deep, deep commitment to the mission of Bethel University. It just came out in every conversation. The awesome role in the kingdom work that Bethel has, and it just was reaffirmed day after day after day when we would meet and talk about how to proceed with the search. Just a beautiful experience.
Outstanding. Ruben, anything that you would add?
I would just say quickly a few things. I happily learned that more people in our community were open to change than I thought would be. There's many examples of this, but through a lot of the listening sessions where, for example, faculty express openness to a non-traditional candidate, that we didn't have to always focus on a candidate to have a doctorate, to come from the world of the academy. I think there is a sense, and I can only attribute to what God has been doing at Bethel, a sense that we really wanted to be open to God's candidate here. This process really helped me to see how much Bethel board members really love Jesus and really care about Bethel and the students, why we're here, to the point of self-sacrifice of their time, their incredible expertise and wisdom, and their pocketbook. I really appreciated that experience. I learned a lot.
Excellent. Final question for you all, and Julie, I'm going to start with you. I am standing in the Benson Great Hall, probably about the same spot as Ross Allen did after we had the chapel where we had a chance to meet him and to hear his story and his hopes for Bethel University. As you all have done this incredible work now, and we are excited to welcome him into his official capacity as president, what are some of your hopes and your dreams for President-elect Allen and for Bethel under his leadership? Julie, I want to start with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, as Ross often says, the best years of Bethel are in front of us, given our mission and given the talent and the work and the opportunity we have. So certainly my hope is that as Ross and team and the whole community lean into that there's joy in that work, that there's result in that work, that the ongoing legacy of Bethel University grows and is strengthened as we educate women and men for the kingdom.
Outstanding. Jessica, Ruben, both of you also work here. You are members of the team, not only of the selection committee, but you're also employees here. What are some of your hopes and dreams for Bethel University under President-elect Allen's leadership?
I do believe that the world continues to need, perhaps now more than ever, Bethel graduates. So we need to be creative about what that looks like. And I believe Ross is, his experience and his background is prepared to help us do that reimagining work.
Absolutely. Ruben, and then I'm going to end with you, Jim.
I want to pick up on something that Jessica had alluded to before. In the time of this kind of upheaval that's going around right now, around the needing to deal with the ongoing challenges of racism and other forms of injustice in the world and needs in the world, the Hebrew Scriptures teach that every human being, without exception, is the image of God and of infinite worth, regardless of color, class, and other difference. But I hope that under Ross's leadership, Bethel's culture is going to grow to improve to be a place where people want to come here because we show the world that we stand against racism and every sin that destroys the image of God in humanity, and how diversity thrives when Christ is at the center. That's my dream for Bethel.
Outstanding. And our chair, we want to thank you so much, Jim Green. Final words that you might give us about your prayers and your hopes now that you have so powerfully led this. What are your hopes and your dreams for Bethel under our new president, Ross Allen?
Well, another reason we were drawn to Ross Allen as the president of Bethel was that he clearly comes across as a natural change agent. We saw in all of his background and his whole career, he was able to navigate complexity really, really well. He was able to lead lots of different organizations within Medtronic transformationally. So when I think about the hope that we would have for Ross in the coming years, would be, first of all, to certainly address some of their short-term issues at Bethel that have now been compounded by COVID-19. To first stabilize, grow enrollment, to improve our financial planning, and first and foremost, to put students back on campus this coming fall. But longer term, I think the hope is that he will be able to develop, along with his team, along with the community, financial and educational model that is certainly sustainable, that is more affordable, that provides access to a much wider, diverse group of students than we've seen in the past. At the same time, creating a new and exciting pathways into Bethel, through Bethel, out of Bethel, by growing to a much larger extent than we've ever been able to do so before, external partnerships that we can engage with and help with our grow and expand our mission.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much, Jim Green, Julie White, Ruben Rivera, Jessica Daniels. We are so grateful for all of your effort, along with the other committee members that were not a part of this, but we applaud all of you, and thank you so much for your dedicated service and for helping Bethel University to identify and now to be able to celebrate our 6th president, Ross Allen. Thank you so much for your time today.